In a previous video, we talked about adding general dimensions to a view. We're going to do a similar thing. We're going to explore a different route to add those dimensions, and really a different route to grab the drawing curves so that we can add the dimensions. Because once you get there, it's really the same type of thing. For this one, we're going to focus on this view down here. Now, previously, we used kind of our knowledge of our view to know like, oh, we wanted the leftmost or the rightmost or all of the circles. Here, we don't have like, if we get the top one, that's good, but how do we get this one down here? Because this is the bottommost, and let's say we didn't know that it was necessarily the second one or the middle one in there. So let's say we just wanted to cherry pick one face that we knew was there, but we didn't know how many different lines were going to be in the way or whatnot. So we're going to focus on that scenario. And this allows you to kind of prepare your models beforehand with faces that you want to later dimension to. And how we do that is through attributes. And we have to reference the actual model. So I'm going to go ahead and open this model here. You'll notice it pops up with a bunch of these weird green lines and calling out different faces. That's because I've gone and attributed all of these different faces so that I could grab them. Now, this is Inventor's interface of how to attribute things. There are other ways to attribute, but I'm going to show you this way. So if you right click on a face or even like a line or an edge, you can go to this assign entity name, and that will pop up with a face here. So if I go, let's actually pick one that I haven't done here. So I'll rotate around and grab this bottom face. Say assign entity name, and I can say bottom face.
Hi everyone, it's great to see you all joining. Quick interruption before we move on. If you're finding this useful, your engagement, liking, subscribing, following, that's what enables us to keep creating and sharing this level of content. Now let's get back into it.
And we'll go ahead and say good on that. And that will add an attribute to that bottom face. Now, for some reason, it's pointing at the wrong one. So I probably had the wrong thing selected. We're going to go ahead and delete that one. And we'll go and try to add it one more time. Try not to misclick this time. Here we go. Bottom face. There we go. So here we have our bottom face attributed. Now, what does attributing it like that do? Well, we have a little tool here that actually was from Brian Eakins, and you can look up Nifty Attribute or Brian Eakins to find this tool, this add-in. And this just allows you kind of a little more freedom and visibility on what you're doing in your attributes. So you can see here we have attributes on our part document and a lot of different faces. So if we come here, let's try to find that bottom face. I'm guessing, yep, that's the last one we put on. You can kind of see it highlighting blue down there. We open it up here, and you can see that we have our entity name set. And so you'll have different levels of things that you can name. And Inventor, I'll move that over here. Inventor goes and names them automatically for you, the same thing every single time. Now, you don't necessarily have to name them that when you're creating attributes automatically in the iLogic code, or when you're creating them through this Nifty attribute here. But this is probably the easiest way to do it, is just using the Inventor built-in interface. So we're going to it names the name set like that. And also, if we open up here, we'll pick your name, iLogic entity name, and then that actual value that we typed in is the value. So that's the bottom face. So that's the only thing that the Inventor interface allows you to kind of customize. However, if I wanted to come in here and name my own, I'll go ahead and show you adding, as long as I have the Nifty attribute up, I can grab an edge, and it allows me to create an attribute set, and that gives me that folder, and I can name that. I can then add an attribute to that and name it corner edge. And I can give it a value if that was helpful. I don't know, 56. And that way we can really put a whole lot more information in there. Now, whether that's useful to you or not, that's up to you. But I wanted to show kind of the different things, and we'll see this in the code even when we're dealing with the Inventor interface option here. Okay, so enough with modeling. Let's get back to, oh, I'll save it. I guess it doesn't matter because we're not going to be referencing that bottom face. But let's get back to the drawing. So now that we have all of those attributes on faces, we can use them to grab these drawing curves that we want, because the drawing curves are generated from those faces. So if we open up the LSTAN part sheet, and we're going to go scroll down to where we're doing that bottom view. Okay, so we're going to look at the bottom view, and we need to use those attributes on the faces to get the curves that we want. So here, the first we're going to use some stuff we did in a previous video to get the rightmost curve, the topmost curve, the bottommost curve, the leftmost curve, okay? We knew how to do that before, but now we need to get the face with the holes on it and the face without holes. So if we're looking at this, we're talking about, this is going to be the face with holes. This is going to be the face without holes. Okay, and I've gone ahead and added attributes so that one is labeled inside face with holes and the other one is inside face without holes. So here are the lines of code that will get you those faces, and that face is what you want to start with. So we go ahead and get part doc, attribute manager, find objects, and we're going to pass in this set of strings. Now, let's see if I can highlight over this. We have the attribute set name, the attribute name, and the attribute value. And this is why I opened up that Nifty attributor, so that you could see what those were talking about. Now, in the Inventor interface, we don't care about the first two because Inventor just names them for us, right? Remember those entity name set and entity name? So that's why you see this asterisk. That means we don't care what the name is. Whatever it is, we're good with it. Just get everything. So we'll do that on the first two. But the last one is that value, and that we do care about. And so in this one, we put in the value that we're looking for, inside face with holes. Okay. And then once we get that, we're going to do this question mark dot item and get the first one. So don't worry too much about what all this is doing. This is just the line of code that we use to get that face. We do need to type it as a face there. That just tells the code, hey, I'm expecting this to be a face. If it can't be a face, it's going to yell at you. But we did our homework well. We know it's a face. So we get the face with holes and the face without holes. Once we get the faces, then we're kind of in business. We need to use the view and the drawing curves to grab the specific drawing curves made from those. That's actually simpler than it sounds, because Inventor lets you take the view called .DrawingCurves, and if you pass it in a face, it will give you an enumerator, that's just basically a list, or an object collection of all of the curves that are made from that face. So in this case, I believe, yeah, those two are only each going to have one, but you could have, a face that gets cut up in the middle, and so you'd have multiple curves. So here we have our face without holes candidates and face with holes candidates. And those curve candidates we know there's only one in them, so we're just going to grab the first one of each of those to get our drawing curve. And once we have our drawing curve, well, we're back to where we were on the previous videos, where we're dimensioning to. We have our drawing curve here, we have our drawing curve there. What do we need to do? Well, we need geometry intent. So we'll pass all of our different curves into, we got our long bottom curve, our short bottom curve, our rightmost curve, and our topmost curve. We'll get our geometry intent out of each of those. And then we're going to dim up both of those. So we'll get our general dimensions, add a linear. We have to get our placement point, just like normal, of where the text is going to go. And then we pass in the 2 geometry intents of the curves that we want to dimension in between. And the same thing for the non-holy face. We get our placement point here, and then we get our 2 geometry intents between the 2 curves. And that allows us to dimension between 2 faces, one of each on each of those dimensions we grabbed through attributes.
Let me pause for a moment before we continue. If you're enjoying this course, what you're seeing here is really the starting point. We've worked with teams like Oldcastle Infrastructure to turn concepts like this into real measurable outcomes, including an 80% reduction in layout time. If you want to fast track introducing automation to your organization, reach out to us and get started at KETIV.com/automation.